the video that you published with Peter Bedell around Zach Lomax was the most commented story we've had on YouTube, and a few questions here.
I got smashed, Mick, would you believe? Can you please be kind? Look, I'm a human being. I've got a wife and kids. Go easy.
Clip that up next time he bags a player. Come Thursday night, what footy advantage have they got by Zach Lomax not being there?
Right now, nothing.
Exactly.
If they didn't want to release him, they didn't have to release him. So they can't cry now, oh, we don't have Zach.
Who leaves a job without having a guaranteed job?
Yeah.
Brian Matterson should have gone to Melbourne. Because if he plays well there, plays 15 to 20 games, he's getting a deal next year somewhere.
But generally, PBL gets his way, and he wants Zach playing league.
Well, I think we all want Zach playing league.
A lot of Parramatta fans do not.
Oh, the footy's back. And guess who we've got here? Little Tommy. Start again.
Good on Tommy Sexton.
Start again. Sorry, mate. Sorry. Welcome to the Code NRL show. I'm Michael Cariana, joined by Brent Reid and Tyson Jackson. Well, the big story in the off-season has been Zach Lomax, and that has continued just days out from the start of the NRL season. Obviously, Melbourne take on Parramatta on the field, but off the field, they've been embroiled in lots and lots of drama. Reedy, you've had plenty to say about this over the past couple of days, but let's pick your brain again. Zach Lomax, should he be playing for the Melbourne Storm?
Well, I think he should be. He should be playing rugby league at the very least. But I think $750,000 is a healthy transfer fee for Zach Lomax. I'm not sure any other club in the game. Well, I know no other club in the game would pay $750,000 for Zach Lomax, given his history and the damage that has taken place to his reputation over the past. Well, it's not even recent weeks; it's over months and years, really. So
on his own accord, like he's
a lot of it, 90%. He's getting advice as well, and he's obviously got some advice that I believe was probably questionable given the outcome. But I want Zach Lomax playing rugby league. I hate this view, Mick, that we go, he'll get replaced. Someone will come along.
I agree with that.
You can talk about Joe Suaalii, you can talk about Joey Martin and say we don't miss them, but every time we lose a star player, I think we do miss them to an extent.
But the competition is better with those blokes playing.
I'd love to see Joey Suaalii playing rugby league still.
Too.
I'd love to see Joey Manu playing rugby league still. A lot of people would. So I think it's unfortunate he's not playing rugby league. I think he should have been allowed to play for the Storm. I think Parramatta should have taken the cash. I acknowledge it didn't help the salary cap, but I think they should have taken the cash because it was more than anyone would have imagined. And I know they're appeasing their fans. We've seen the response to this. I'm getting hammered over it, right? Because I'm back in Melbourne and Zach, right? And people say, Storm man, you're at it again. But it wouldn't have mattered what club it was, right? If any club had offered $750,000 for Zach Lomax, I would have said, Para, you're mad not taking that.
The $750,000, right? That wouldn't include the legal fees and things like that for Parramatta. So how much money do you think that's actually? Well, I've spoken to people at Parramatta. They think they would have pocketed $300,000.
Well, that's $300,000. What a bummer. What are you going to do with that? But they're still $400,000 better off because they're getting $250,000 from Melbourne right now to cover their legal fees as a result of the settlement. Melbourne offered $750,000. Right, that's a $500,000 difference. Now, some of that would have gone potentially to legal fees, but it's $500,000 they don't have right now, Mick. Right,
they don't need them.
And they've been clear. That's the thing. But that's I don't like this view. We don't need the money. Right, it's forget $750,000, $500,000. I don't care how much your league's club makes. You can do a lot with $500,000.
Of course you can. But you can also do a lot with an elite player in your team.
They were happy to see the back of him. Do you not? Have you not heard that they were?
Of course, because it got to the back of it. Well, of course they were, because it got to the point where he agitated for a release 1 year into a 4-year deal. They don't want that bloke around.
Well, buyer's remorse. Hello. What about his history? Maybe they should have taken that into account before they signed the bloke.
100% they should.
Okay.
100% they should have, right? But that.
Can I throw you left field? I'm going to throw you both. Have a think about this for a second.
How are you, Tyson?
I'm good.
Tyson's up. I'm going to give Tyson a chance to speak.
I'm warming up.
That's like Mel 360.
Now this I don't necessarily agree with. Okay. Right? This I don't necessarily agree with. But I want to get your view on this. So they control Zach Lomax's future, right? He cannot play rugby league, right, without their approval. At the moment, they're not approving him playing rugby league. This is radical. Right?
Okay.
Just say, and he's worth about 700. He's paid about 700, right? While they control his future,
don't leave it in the cap.
While they I'm just saying,
$0.
I don't think it should be. But there is a view out there that if they are going to control about his future and stop him playing rugby league, then maybe they should wear some cap.
No.
Some
No, that
wear
view's,
some of
that
that in the
view's
cap.
coming from the NRL.
Is it?
Who want to put pressure on Parramatta to try and force their hand.
Do you know that, dude?
That view's coming from the NRL, who's trying to force Parramatta's hand to make Zach play.
Yeah, as someone who wants to see Zach play, I don't agree with that because
I don't agree with either.
like
Just
Zach
saying,
at the
there's
end
a
of
view out
at the end of the day, right? Despite us wanting to see Zach in the game and whatnot, he did sign that deal that has put him in this position with the Eels, right? And I don't agree with it. I don't think it should happen. And I almost think if he was any other team, the Eels would have let him go. They just don't want to let him go.
Nah, I just completely disagree with that.
Mate, are you telling me that it was because of the Melbourne Storm that they didn't get their backs up about it and they thought they're trying to stack against us and they would have fought?
It was the way Melbourne went about it which got Parramatta's backs up, not the Storm, not because it's the Melbourne Storm.
But Melbourne are entitled to chase a player, Mick. Melbourne are entitled to chase a player that they believe.
Parramatta are entitled to say no.
Yeah, but see, and that's what I'm saying.
But
right?
it's not. I think the Melbourne situation is totally irrelevant. If it was another club and they carried on the way that Melbourne did, essentially threatening play him anyway or sign him anyway, regardless of the situation at Parramatta. Parramatta would have
Yeah, he couldn't have signed him though.
Right.
He couldn't.
I mean, I know they tried to lodge a contract for him, right?
Oh.
No. But there was never an intention to play him without reaching an agreement with Parramatta.
But if you're going to lodge
that's impossible.
If you're going to lodge a contract,
they were just getting it ready. They sent it to the NRL to get it ready, to notify them that there'd been talks and an agreement was in place. But there was no intention, as I understand it, and I've spoken to people at Melbourne about this, to play him without reaching an agreement with Parramatta.
Well, that's why Parramatta took the legal action.
I know it is. I know it's exactly why, because I think they thought the NRL was ready to give it the green light.
Yeah.
And the other side of it, Mick, is we talk about this agreement that Zach signed, right? In my belief, when Zach signed the agreement and his management, far be it from me to condone what his management did, because I think a manager's job or an agent's job has got two jobs. One, maximise his players' earning potential. Two, protect their image. And I think on that front, he's been let down. But when he signed that settlement, that agreement to leave, there's also an inherent understanding in that if you try and come back to rugby league, the club you left is going to be realistic about your worth and what the settlement should be. And I think $750,000 is a realistic settlement. A realistic transfer fee.
Not for Parramatta.
In fact, it's beyond realistic. It's ridiculous.
But, Brady, Parramatta's stance from the beginning was we need something to help our football team. That's been their stance.
But they're not paying Lomax. They've got Lomax's money.
That's $700,000.
They've got Lomax's money still.
Because he walked out on the club.
Yeah, but they still have that. They can use that to...
Okay, they've signed Brian Kelly. Is Brian Kelly a Zach Lomax replacement?
That's their decision, though. No one forced them to sign Brian Kelly.
Save the money and wait till something else comes along. Why'd they have to use it on Brian Kelly?
Okay, so you guys are in this mythical land where they've got an instant advantage because Zach Lomax isn't there.
No, that's
but
right.
they've got seven. We're saying they've got money.
Who can they sign? Tell me right now.
Well, it might not
who's
be
the equivalent?
But they don't want Zach Lomax anyway right now. Anyway.
No. You're not listening to me.
You said who can they sign?
The equivalent right now.
Right now, no one. There's no one on the market right now.
Who
But
knows, Mick? You know how the game works.
But you're saying they've got this advantage right now in 2026. What is their advantage for Zach Lomax not being there?
No, there's this argument,
My
Mick.
Lord.
There's this argument that they want a footy outcome out of this. And to suggest that they have no footy outcome is incorrect because they've freed up money on the salary cap. It's not Zach Lomax. They haven't got Zach Lomax, but they've freed up significant money on the salary cap for a bloke who didn't want to be there anyway. Right? They've got $700,000 they didn't think they'd have before. I'm sure they prefer Zach Lomax, right? But you can't say we've got no footy advantage out of this. You have. You've freed up a hell of a lot of money on this cap. They've signed Jonah Pezzett. They're chasing Mitch Barnett.
They could have signed Pezzett without that.
Still, they're chasing Mitch Barnett.
Yeah.
And when they signed Jonah, they knew Zach was going. He'd already asked for a release.
They
right?
could. I'm spoken. They had the money regardless.
Whatever. But
the player that they signed is Brian Kelly.
Well, okay. Well, I thought that was a crazy signing to start with. I don't know why they signed
that's
Brian.
Because they had to.
That's their decision. That's their decision.
They didn't have to
Well,
sign
they
Brian
didn't have
Kelly.
to sign Brian Kelly, but at the time they needed a replacement outside back because Zach had walked out of the club and he was the best player available.
Can I ask this question to you? They're one of the great breeding grounds of rugby league, correct?
Yeah.
And you're telling me in their system they don't have a better player. No disrespect to you, Brian. They don't have a better player who can do what Brian Kelly does.
Well, but you could say the same about them signing Jonah Pezzett for 12
No, but
months.
they could have promoted Jada
Jonah's a
Semrani. They could have Richard Penasini. They have centres there. They chose to sign Brian Kelly.
Thanks, Scoop.
No, but mate. You're saying that they have no footy advantage though. The $700,000 is footy advantage.
Okay,
they can
Tyson,
use that.
Okay, come Thursday night, what footy advantage have they got by Zach Lomax not being there?
Right now, nothing.
Exactly.
Well, I would say they've got one. They've got an unhappy player out of their ranks.
Oh my. Yeah, but what?
Okay. An unhappy and unsettled player out of their ranks.
Okay, but
that's a footy advantage as well, is it not?
I guess so. But
Yeah.
what? Like, but really, do you think they line up?
They're not a better side without
Okay.
Zach Lomax.
Okay,
right?
but they've got a footy advantage so far.
Mick,
You guys keep telling me.
It takes two to tango though.
No.
They agreed to release Zach as much as Zach wanted to go. Like if they didn't want to release him, they didn't have to release him. He was under contract there. They chose to let him go.
Yeah.
So they can't cry now. Oh, we don't have Zach, and we
They're
don't
not
have.
crying. They're not crying.
But you claim they don't have an advantage, Mick. But they also
Zach,
chose.
Tyson, tell me what the
But
what
no,
the
I'm saying
advantage
that
is.
I'm saying right
Tell
now.
me, no,
I'm
tell
saying
me what
right
the
now.
advantage is.
Right now, a player like for like they don't have. They've got the money, but they don't have player like for like.
Okay, so they don't have an advantage right now.
They chose to get rid of. They chose to let him go.
That's not the point.
They chose to let him
The
go.
point is,
Mick.
you two answer me this.
Yeah.
Do they have an advantage with Zach Lomax not being in the team right now?
They're a better side with Lomax, but there is a benefit to him going, which is freeing up salary cap room. I'll tell you what, Mick, at some point this year, if they've got the cash to sign Mitch Barnett and someone else, right, they've then had an advantage. They should then let Zach Lomax come back to rugby league because they've got an advantage out of his salary cap money.
Ooh.
Well, have they? If they sign Mitch Barnett and someone else who's a gun player with Zach Lomax's money, that has given them an advantage, has it not?
Potentially,
Okay.
Potentially.
Okay.
But
So
they've
at that point,
no, Reedy.
at that point, they're going to go, Zach, you're welcome back to rugby league.
Because Ryan Matterson's off contract, so they can use that. So they use Ryan Matterson's money to sign Mitch Barnett.
Oh, should we talk about Ryan Matterson?
But
the way he's been treated in this
so
situation?
is that the competitive advantage?
Which bit?
So Ryan Matterson gone, Mitch Barnett in, irrelevant to Zach
No, I'm
Lomax.
saying if they're able to use,
Irrelevant to Zach Lomax.
if they're able to use Zach Lomax's money to sign someone, they then gain an advantage.
But just
and
but
at
you're
that point,
saying just
they should
because
go
they signed
tick
Mitch
you back.
Barnett is not.
No, I said Mitch Barnett and someone else.
Yeah, they need someone
Who's
to
taking Ryan Matterson? Like you said, if they just do it, if they replace Ryan Matterson with Mitch Barnett, then Zach's out of the pitch. Who's actually taking Ryan
He's off
Matterson?
contract.
Yeah, at the end of the year. But they've got that money now. They've got that money
No,
now.
we're talking about Mitch Barnett next year.
Yeah, but they can sign him now. They can put an offer in for him now because they've got Zach Lomax's money.
No, mate, because Ryan Matterson's off contract.
They've still got the money now, though. They've got $700,000 that's not being used.
Can you explain to him? Ryan Matterson is off contract.
Let's move on
he's
to
off
this. Let's talk about Ryan Matterson and how he's been treated in this. Now, Ryan again has got to wear some of the blame. And so does his agent, because I saw those quotes this morning. Pete Bedell spoke to him, and in one breath, I believe, Mick, correct me if I'm wrong, he said Ryan Matterson will never play rugby league again.
Or he may not. He's going through some issues.
He's going through some issues and may not play rugby league again. And in the
Next
breath,
sentence.
he said he would have gone to Melbourne if he got a 2-year deal. This mystifies me. Gavin,
I read that this morning. And I'm like, what? So, Ryan Matterson, he could be dealing with stuff, right? No, like when no one's.
We're not
disputing
mocking Ryan Matterson.
He said that he spent he hasn't even been at training because of
we're not disputing what's going on with him. But then in the next breath to say he would have probably gone to Melbourne for a 2-year deal without the uncertain, so what? Bizarre.
Yeah.
Bizarre. And none of this, and no one is putting blame on this deal falling over on Ryan Matterson's shoulders, right? No. This is not right.
If it came out that way, we wrote the story the other day.
This is not Ryan Matterson's fault that Zach Lomax is not at the Melbourne Storm, right? But if it was me and I was looking at where I'm at in my career and knowing that I'm not going to play first grade at Parramatta this year, I would have run to Melbourne for 1 year. Yeah. And then, what's your worth next year?
Well, Melbourne had said to him, mate, if you come down here, prove you can. You're not a spent force. You can dig in, have a go. We're open to keeping you for a second year, right? Now, it was probably unlikely. Let's be brutally honest, right? But they were open to it. And I'm with you. He's got no future power. I believe they've told him. The rumour suggests they've told him he's playing Ron Massey Cup. There's no future for him at Parramatta.
He's been on the chopping block for a
long time. Yeah. And I mean, his treatment is a separate issue, but the RLPA, the players' unions, obviously come out this morning overnight and said, this treatment of players, where players get horse traded without their knowledge, and because Ryan said I didn't know that this was going on, that it needs to stop. I mean, I understand where the RLPA is coming from, but there's also the point. A lot of this stuff happens behind closed doors. It's meant to stay behind closed doors, but invariably, when you involve agents and clubs, it gets leaked, right? So, I mean, and I acknowledge the RLPA stance on it. It's the correct stance, but it's impossible.
Yeah, I get what they're saying, right? But clubs need to have that discussion before it gets to the next level.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they want to sign you, Reedy, and the other club doesn't want you, then what's the point of broaching
They
it
can
with
use
the player?
Lomax's money to
Right?
sign me.
But if they both want Tyson, then they go to Tyson. All right, let's have that discussion with his agent and see where it goes. So I get what the RLP are coming at, but like I'm, from a purely footy point of view, Ryan Matterson should have gone to Melbourne.
Yeah.
Take the deal out of it. Take whatever else out of it. I think it would have been advantageous for his career to go back to go to Melbourne and give it a crack. Because if he plays well there, plays 15 to 20 games, he's getting a deal next year somewhere.
They also have Storm have a reputation of taking players that are in similar positions to Ryan Matterson and turning them into powerhouses. It was interesting though, Ryan Matterson's statement yesterday. He said the first he heard about the deal was actually from the Storm, not from Parramatta, which I find quite interesting in the whole situation as well.
I mean, but Ryan Matterson knows Parramatta don't want him there. That's
he went to Warrington last year for the back end of the year. And so if you the video that you published with Peter Bedell around Zach Lomax was the most commented story we've had on YouTube, and a few questions here.
I got smashed, Mick. Would you believe?
I reckon you're in for it today as well.
I don't generally read
You might comment as well.
I don't generally read the comments, but I might go back and.
I read the comments on some stuff last night.
Well, the outcome.
Can you please be kind? Look, I'm a human being.
I know. I always tell people, leave Reedy alone. He's a good fella.
Come on. I've got a wife and kids. Go easy. Go easy.
All right, can you clip that up next time he bags a player? Would the outcome have been different if it was a Queensland club?
Depends which Queensland club. I'm with Tyson a bit on this. I think the fact it was Melbourne.
I totally disagree.
No matter which, their fans are in outrage. The fan response to it, I would suggest, would have changed if it was a different club.
Well, it was Canterbury. Penrith.
No, I'm not saying
like.
every club. I'm saying if it was Brisbane, same thing. Fans would have been outraged. If it was the poorer Gold Coast or North Queensland, I reckon fans would have gone, send him there. Good luck to him.
I honestly don't feel like Parramatta's stance.
No, I'm not saying Parramatta stance. I'm saying the feeling amongst fans would have changed.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah. Should Lomax's agent be punished too?
Well, no, because Zach Lomax chose to take the advice of the agent. That's still Zach Lomax's decision, right? You could tell me to do something, and if I choose to do it, that falls on me, right? So despite whatever the advice was, which we're still getting to the bottom of, like you can't blame someone else for telling him, hey, I think this is the right idea, and then him not fighting back at all, right?
I would say that, like, if I'm Zach Lomax, I'm going, please explain, like, how this has ended up like this to his agents. Well, they can't be punished by the NRL. They haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
But if I'm Zach Lomax, I'm asking, and look, he's a grown adult, Zach, and he makes his decisions are his. But I can't help but feel like he's been, wherever he's got his advice from on this, it hasn't been good.
One thing I won't understand, and I'll never be able to understand, is that who leaves a job without having a guaranteed job?
Yeah.
That's fundamentally it. In my head, I'm looking at it going, all right, if I'm leaving here, well, I've got a job done.
What's happening?
No, but
something cooking?
Breaking news.
Hold on.
Breaking news. First buzz, now Mick, we can't keep anyone.
Or what's PVL actually going to do about it?
Well, I don't know what he can do. I don't really think they've got any authority. I don't know that they can interfere in this. You open up a Pandora's box if you start interfering in this. I mean, he could pick up the phone and ring Zach and say, mate, please don't go. We'll try and work on these clubs and get something ironed out. He could do that potentially, and he's made it pretty clear he wants Zach Lomax playing rugby league, so he could personally intervene on that front. But I'm not sure you can tell a club, accept that transfer fee. You must. You can't. I mean, he might try. It's PVL, but generally PVL gets his way, and he wants Zach playing league.
Well, I think we all want Zach playing league.
Do we though?
I do.
Do you? Okay.
Of course,
a lot of Parramatta fans do not.
Of course,
not everyone.
Yeah, but if Parramatta came up with if the Parramatta landed a good outcome, I think their fans would be okay with it.
Okay.
I wish he was playing against Parramatta tonight. How good would that have been?
Mate,
right?
What a story.
Awesome, right? So this, and I know your point last night, and I sort of agree with it on 360 that, someone like Ezra Mann, right? Half a season allowed back into the game. What Zach's done doesn't even compare. Like, it's not even remotely close to that situation, right? And we could potentially see him out of the game for 2 years. So that's where it gets. That's where it's hard to compute, right? When you've got they're totally different situations.
And I think, Mick, in this situation, and I don't know how you would do this, right? But when you've got two clubs haggling over a transfer fee or an agreement, surely you can have an independent arbiter.
That's court,
well, it is court, but court didn't make a decision on the transfer fee, the amount of the transfer fee. We've now got Jeff Bellew, who's the judiciary chairman. He's now the independent decision maker on sanctions. Surely someone like that,
So
if you've got two clubs at war, surely you can get an independent arbiter or mediator who comes in and goes.
But then, Reedy, do we see a situation where who's on a long-term deal? Homole Olakawatu, first player that popped into my head, right? A long-term deal with Manly, 2030, 2031, whatever it is. If I'm, Brisbane just lost Payne Haas, I know one's a middle, one's an edge. Go, I want to sign Olakawatu. Does that go to the independent? You can't.
Well, they're not allowed to talk to him, are they?
Well,
I understand what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's the.
But for a bloke on a 7-year deal, if you're trying to get him out in year 2, the transfer fee would be insane.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. But I just feel like that. I know you just said it on the run, right?
Yeah.
It's not something. Yeah. I just feel like that could be fraught with some danger.
Just an idea, Mick. I'm just spitballing.
No, that's why.
I'm just throwing ideas.
That's why I
there.
wasn't smashing you because it just came to your head.
I'm just trying to resolve disputes, help rugby league.
Well, guess what we're going to do soon?
What?
Talk some footy. Oh, the footy's back. And guess who we've got here? Little Tommy. Start again.
Tommy's
Start again. Sorry, bro. Sorry, bro. Sorry.
I didn't even get that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
The new kid off the block. Sorry, mate. The footy's back, and we've got Supercoach guru Tom Sangster with us. Tommy, how you going?
Pumped for a big weekend.
Little Tommy's back, maybe.
Little Tommy.
Let's go. What do you got?
So many young guns coming through this weekend, which I'm so excited about, including myself, apparently.
Speaking of young guns, Tyson, what do you have for us this weekend? Which game are you looking forward to?
Yeah, got to be the Warriors-Roosters game tomorrow night. Early game for the Friday, but I'm really interested to see how the Roosters are going to play. I went to the Roosters on Monday and they said they're playing this new style of footy, Sunday. And James Tedesco said between himself, Sam Walker and Daly Cherry-Evans, they all have playmaking roles. Teddy will slot into first receiver on certain plays. Cherry-Evans could be as far as third receiver on certain plays. I mean, we've all been used to seeing Teddy as that roaming kind of fullback. That's where he's made some of his great plays and I guess established himself as one of the best in the game. But to see him kind of step into a new role, I'm excited to see that and see where his kind of game can go. And obviously the Sam Walker DCE combination, I mean, a lot of us have them tipped to be at the top of the ladder this year. So, I mean, a lot will be shown on Friday night.
Yep.
I'm going with the Roosters, but I think it'll be a low-scoring close game.
Can I ask Tommy a Supercoach question?
That's what he's here for.
Has DCE been popular?
No, not at all.
No, okay.
Not at all. But Sam Walker is really popular.
Oh, Sammy, yeah, I love Sammy.
Because that final trial, Walker, he ran the team. He got 112 Supercoach points, which is huge. And DCE played second fiddle, basically.
Yeah.
But apparently that's not going to be the case during the year. So I said that to Sam. I said, is it going to be a case of you're the genuine first receiver, DC's the genuine second receiver? He said no. He said we're not splitting it in half, but we're going to split it. We're not playing sides of fields either. So you'll see them both pop up on different sides and doing different things, and then you add Tedesco in there as well. Apparently it's a new style of play for them, and I think we saw Newcastle in Vegas do something similar with Kalen going up into the line and Sharp and Brown and Sandon Smith all swapping those roles. I think the Roosters are planning on doing something similar.
I love Sammy Walker. I think he's going to have a huge year.
So, Tommy, plenty of Supercoach interest, obviously, this week. Some unknowns.
Yes.
What do you like in the Warriors-Roosters game?
So for the Warriors, Jacob Laban's been named to start ahead of Leka Halasima. Leka, you watch rugby league for like 30 seconds and you can tell that Leka Halasima is an absolute gun.
Yeah.
So Jacob Laban must be pretty good, or they're giving Leka a rocket. Either way, Laban is really popular for Supercoach.
The game following is the one I'm really looking forward to. The Broncos v Penrith for multiple reasons. The Broncos, off the back of the Payne Haas news, the World Club Challenge loss, some rumblings up there. It'll be interesting to see how they respond. And the Panthers have just gone about their business quietly. No World Club Challenge. They had some players on rep footy, but not a huge contingent like that they've been used to. Largely injury free. Obviously, no Liam Martin, which hurts them. But I feel like there's an air of confidence back out at Penrith. So I'm really, really looking forward to this game. What's your thoughts, Tice?
I've actually tipped Penrith to this. I think they're going to go up and surprise a few people. Well, I mean, like against the Premiers, obviously. A couple of things I'm just a bit worried about. I looked at the World Club Challenge, and obviously the Broncos made a miraculous comeback, but it made me look at their last probably 10 games where they've made miraculous comebacks. They're eventually going to run out of steam. They can't keep doing that, right? Like to come down from 20-point deficits week after week after week, it's unsustainable. I think Penrith they shock Broncos at home, and that's going to give the Broncos the kind of slap in the face they need to go on to have a successful season, but it's going to be a rough start for them.
Well, I'm a Broncos man. You know, I was at their first game, as I always tell you.
I could have put $1,000 on Reedy saying that.
I always tip the Bronx. I think Brisbane will be too good for them. I think Liam Martin's a huge out for Penrith, man. He's like he sets the tempo in terms of their aggression. What do you reckon, Tommy? You got a smoky for us in this game? What do you think?
Oh, not really a smoky. They're both really established teams. I've got an avoid for you, though. Nathan Cleary.
Wow.
Such a tough
This
run.
is controversial.
He's our captain.
He's
You sounded so upset.
I can't change it. So.
He actually has a really good record against the Broncos, but also they got such a tough run to start the year. You look at their draw, it's by far the worst in the competition. Wow. So I'm avoiding Cleary. Also keen to see just their energy levels as well after how they've been up for so long with the 4 premierships, plus making it very close to getting to the grand final last year. Interested to see if they've still got the hunger.
Got a Brisbane player? I like Dean Mariner.
Well,
I look at Dean Mariner this year.
The guy that everyone's like, sorry, this is boring, but Payne Haas averages 10 more Supercoach points in Ramadan. Even when he can't eat drink water during the day, he actually goes better.
Wow.
No, that is some research.
A little bit of trivia right there.
That's
impressive, isn't it?
Who are you tipping, Tommy, in that one?
Broncos for me. I think it's up there, isn't it? Yeah.
For me as well. The Saturday games, Sharks, Titans, and Sea Eagles against Raiders. You want to have a look at the Sea Eagles Raiders game?
Yeah, so it's obviously all about Jamal Fogarty in this one, his first NRL game for the club. But it's another half that I'm going to be looking at in Joey Walsh. He was great in the trials. He's played juniors in rugby union for Australia and in rugby league for Australia as well. So he's, if not the best young half coming through, then certainly very high on the list. Luke Brooks could be under a bit of pressure there in the number 14 jersey. Could come on at any stage, kill it. And Luke Brooks, he's already talked about moving to hooker potentially.
How do you see that?
I tipped Manly, but with no confidence. I just tipped them because they're at home, because I really like Canberra. I think Canberra, probably if they beat Brisbane in the finals last year, win that game where they should have won, I think they make the grand final, Canberra. I think they're going under the radar a bit. Not a lot of people are talking about the Raiders, which I think is insane. But I'm intrigued by Tommy. You know, Tommy is a super coach genius, right? If he plays like we all know he can. He's had a great pre-season. He's captain. And I'm thinking Tommy might cut loose, actually.
I'd love
not this Tommy.
Tommy.
This Tommy was nodding his head as I spoke then. He's obviously a Trbojevic fan.
I'm a massive Trbojevic fan, but every year I buy him and I have to sell him 3 times because he's always injured. So I just can't go there for this season.
Yeah, okay.
And what about you, Tice? Who are you tipping?
Yeah, it's an interesting game. I think it's Canberra, the big forward pack, the successful forward pack against kind of the spark and the flare of Manly's backline. So Manly at home. I'm going to go with Manly. I like Tom's point about Luke Brooks. I spoke to Luke last week and I kind of said, would you be open to move? He said it hasn't really been discussed yet, but he kind of wants to just be there. He wants to be around that team. So if he has to move to Hooker, he can. So we could see that in this game. We could see him shift when Joey Walsh comes on.
Joey Walsh is named at 14, right?
Yeah. So there's a big possibility. Yeah. And they're very high on Joey, and
he's a good player.
There's a lot there. I think this game has a lot more interest than some people are giving it credit for.
Luke Brooks at hookers.
Yeah.
We saw him. They did it a little. At hooker. Yeah, they did it a little bit at the West Tigers. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And, like, imagine the defensive workload that's just going to come his way.
Luke Brooks never been a terrible defender around good bodies, and at hooker,
I can imagine it's only be 20 minutes. It's not going to be.
So you can do some damage in 20 minutes, but I think the plan is for Jake Simpson to play 80 minutes. Like that's the route.
Well, how's he gone on Supercoach, Jake?
He's
Simpson?
pretty popular.
Is he?
It depends on Zach Dockett-Clay, who I don't think is in the squad.
He hasn't been there.
Speaking of people in Manly, they expect Jake to go 80,
which is would make him a really good purchase. Absolutely, him and Reid Marnie both at the same price, both back playing.
Yeah. A game that I'm completely looking forward to, because I think if it's a dry track, this could be points at plenty. Dolphins v the Rabbitohs. Ready to talk us through that one?
Well, South's been great in the pre-season.
How much did you watch?
Not much, but I watched the highlights. It looked unbelievable, right? So I'm really looking forward to seeing our Souths go. I mean, no Jai Arrow, obviously, but Latrell's back, looks fit.
Cam Murray.
Cam Murray's back, and people underestimate the loss of Cam Murray and the impact it had in that footy club last year.
Cody Walker.
Your
man, David Fifita.
I'm looking forward to seeing Big Davey. I love Big Davey. So I'm really looking forward to watching South this week. The Dolphins again, and the Dolphins are a side got a lot of people excited this year, but I'm excited about South.
I'm excited. I think I've got them both in my 8. Dolphins and South.
Grand final preview?
No, but I've got him. I've got him in my 8. Yeah. What about you, Tice?
Yeah, I think again this game I have the Dolphins in my 8. I think the Rabbitohs might just miss out, but the Dolphins in particular, their bench for me just isn't where I thought it would be to start the year. Max Plath is playing Queensland Cup off the bench, which I found interesting. I thought he was one of their better players.
That would just be coming back.
But still, like, you know, he's a big out for them. They've got Felice Kafusi as their only genuine front row option off the bench, and I mean, he started his career as a second rower, so he's had to transform into that role. You got Flegler starting. I mean,
looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, he looked great. He looked great in the trials, but an NRL game, the intensity is a bit higher. So I just think this week they're going to struggle, the Dolphins. I still have them there at the end of the year, but this Rabbitohs team is hot at the moment. I was there yesterday. They're really up about it. Latrell and David Fifita look like absolute monsters on the field, and I'm excited to see that combination, so I'm going to tip the Rabbitohs this week.
Is Dave been a popular Supercoach guy?
He's one of the most popular players in the game.
He's quite cheap at the moment.
Yeah,
too.
So he's so cheap because he obviously had that bad season under Des Hasler at the Titans.
Wasn't on his pat line there.
So he's based on an average of 40 for Supercoach, where he's averaged 80 in the past. So he's basically half price. Plus, you've got.
I love Dave. He's a great man.
Plus, you've got that left edge where you've got Cody Walker, Fifita, Latrell, and the guy who's soon to be the top try scorer ever in rugby league.
I like Cody Walker this year.
Yeah.
I think he's just a guy that, you know, his body's been amazing until last year. And I feel like, as you said, like the strike that's there and, you know, getting the full preseason in, I feel like he's a guy that can do some real damage.
That left side's going to be frightening. Defending against, you know, Cody, Latrell, Big Dave, like they're big. It's
going to be a good game. I'm really looking. I think next game will be the highest point scoring game of the weekend.
Okay, dry track, Suncorp.
It's going to be driving.
Oh, it's always dry in Queensland. It's Queensland, mate. Sun's always.
It doesn't rain in Queensland.
It does rain in Queensland. I've been there when it's raining.
It's Queensland, baby.
It doesn't rain, and it's a grand final preview. Thank you, Brent. Thanks for joining us, Tom. And you've got a full Supercoach preview for us.
Yeah, there's 2 episodes this week up in the Code channel on YouTube.
Ready? What's cooking behind the scenes in rugby league this week?
Well, there's a bit going on, Mick. There's been a bit going on. Interesting news out of Cronulla. The Sharks are very close to an extension for Craig Fitzgibbon.
Okay.
Their super coach, been one of the most successful coaches in the game in recent years. I think his win percentage is about 60-odd%. Would be a logical target for PNG. He's off contract at the end of 2027. Yeah, 2027. And their chairman, Steve Mace, currently just got back into Australia. And I imagine that's his priority in the next couple of weeks to knock over an extension for Fitzy. Well deserved. One of the best coaches in rugby league, I think.
A no-brainer.
They are a brilliantly coached football team, Cronulla.
Yeah, no-brainer for them. And it's a really interesting time for Cronulla because I feel like the next 2 years is going to be rejuvenation.
Easy for you to say.
Of that
rejuvenation
of that squad. We've already seen Sifa Talakai leave to go to Perth. So it's a really interesting time for the Sharks. Gold Coast up against Cronulla there in that game on Saturday. Tice, what do you make of that contest?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Because the Titans were so good in the preseason, but we always say we can't look too much into preseason. I think the Sharks are going to have a bit of a down year. I think they almost have to for that rebuild to kind of. There are 14 players off contract without Sifa Talakai now at the end of this year, and a lot of those guys won't be re-signed because I think they've almost hit their ceiling on where they can go. The Titans, on the other hand, look like they're on the up. I'm really excited to see Lockie Ilias get a run. I thought Lockie Ilias trialled pretty well, and I don't think we got to see Lockie's best form at the Dragons, right, for whatever reason. So for him to get first crack here, obviously because of an injury with Jaden Campbell, I'm really excited. And it's a coin toss for me. I've tipped the Sharks. It's at home, and like it's hard to tip against, like you said, Craig Fitzgibbon and his win percentage. But the Titans team, this will be a lot closer than I think people have it.
Do you have the Sharks in your 8?
No. I have the Sharks
Big
missing
call.
out too.
I left them out, but I think they'll be
You leave them
there.
out of 8.
Yeah, but I have to make room for.
They're going to win.
There's too many
fine.
teams. I think they'll make the 8.
They're a
That's
side
good.
that will win. Like they're just so. Like they'll just win too many
course.
games not to be in the 8
Because he's
line.
such a good coach. They
But
don't
the
beat
comp's
themselves.
going to be so close
Yeah.
this year. Like I said in our magazine the other week that it's going to be the closest competition we've ever had, and a lot of those teams are going to miss out on the 8 purely on points for and against.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But tip Sharks, you said?
Yeah, go on Sharks.
Sharks.
Yep, Sharks for mine as well. Well, round 1. It's final here. We'll catch you next week.